Hello, everyone. Just waiting for Facebook to come up and then we will be good. Okay. Welcome, Health Accelerator family. Excited everyone is here. It's January 19th. We are moving through January very quickly. So if you're watching live, just go ahead, drop a hashtag live in the comments. If you are watching the replay, just go ahead and drop a hashtag replay. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, talk about something a little bit different, but still as it relates to health. Okay, so your network is your net worth. We've probably all heard that if we've been in the business world at all, just about the importance of networking. And I want to talk about what that looks like in terms of your health and all of the different buckets we have. Okay, because health is wealth, right? We know we have our physical health, our mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, all of those things. And so it's really important that we have a strong network surrounding us because what we consume is really what controls our mind, so to speak. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about our network tonight and what that looks like and how we can level up our network and just the importance overall. Okay, on the what you think, what you eat, and what you do, right? What we eat, what we think, what we do. Those are the three pillars that when those are firing on all cylinders, we are really making the progress we want to make. And so when we talk about our network, that's really about the what we think. Okay, so we're going to focus a lot on that tonight. Grab something to take notes with. If building a network is not something that you are used to doing, or maybe it's a little outside your comfort zone. Okay, we're going to look at what does that look like and how can you start to build that network of support to really reach the goals that you want to reach. Okay, before we go into that, though, I want to make sure we go over our basics, right? The pillars, the 7-step signature system, and what the formula is, so that we are continuing to drill that into our subconscious mind. Because when it can become second nature, that's when the program just becomes that habit. Okay. And then it's more out of habit to force yourself not to follow the system than it is to have to make that conscious decision over and over to follow the system. Okay. So what we eat, what we think, what we do, those are the three pillars. Okay. What's the 7-step signature system to get to having those pillars do what we need them to do? We have the opt in. Okay, we have to make that conscious decision. Yes, I'm going to do what moves me forward, what pushes me toward my goals. So we have the opt in, the education. When we know better, we do better. Okay, that's why it's important to show up to class. It's important to show up to your coaching sessions if you're in a coaching program. It's important to talk with your accountability partner, read the books, all of the above. Okay, so the education. Then you have the accountability. Again, really important to stay plugged in with your coach. If you're in a program, stay plugged in with your accountability partner. If you have one, and if you don't, that's something that we'll talk about when we talk about building your network. Okay. Accountability, tracking. Tracking is another form of accountability. When we're not tracking, we don't really know what we're doing, right? And that's part of the opt in, that's part of the education. So you see how they build on each other, they are building blocks. So we have to be tracking everything we do, because when we're tracking, that's when we're making the most progress. And we can look back and maybe we didn't have a great day, but we can look back and say, oh, you know what? I can make this little tweak and then I can start moving that line again, right? Okay. So then you have the behavior modification. We talked a lot about that last week and the week before that too. So behavior modification is really what happens when you are building new habits, right? You have to change your behaviors if anything is going to change. Okay, so behavior modification is super important when you are looking to reach different goals. And the behavior modification might mean doing more of what you already do that's working and less of the things that don't move you toward your goals, right? That's just, in a nutshell, behavior modification. We have to identify the behaviors that aren't serving us, and we have to do more of the behaviors that are serving us. At the end of the day, there's not a single person that I have ever met in my entire life that's not doing something positive. Okay. And so it's really important to acknowledge yourself. Again, step 6, celebrate all wins. Look at what's going right and do more of that, and acknowledge what maybe is not totally moving you toward your goals, and make a conscious decision. Hey, I'm going to do less of this and I'm going to do more of the things that do serve me. Okay. So when we talk about tracking your wins and celebrating your wins, it's really important that, again, those wins go into your tracking. We have to track those wins because that's what keeps us going when motivation might be a little fleeting. And motivation comes and goes. It just absolutely does, right? Motivation is not always there. But what we can count on is that behavior modification and those habit changes when that motivation starts to lack a little bit. Okay. You can just start thinking subconsciously, this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is just my plan. This is the 7-step signature system. I'm following the plan, following the formula. And the last part is give back. Okay, you can give back on the accountability level. You can give back by just simply showing up as the best version of yourself, setting that good example for your family, setting the good example for your friends, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, that's what we mean by give back. Okay, and so then when we talk about our formula, what formula do we want to follow that just becomes second nature? 20 to 30 grams of protein every single time you eat, 5+ grams of fiber. And sometimes we need a fiber supplement to add to that, depending on what it is you're eating. 5 to 8 grams of fat, and then 10 to 15 grams or less of carbohydrates per meal. So those 4 things are every single time we eat. That's the formula we want to stay within. Okay. Now, translating that to daily, the only thing we track daily is our net carbohydrates, which is our total carbohydrates minus our total fiber. Okay. And that gives you your net carbohydrates. And when you are wanting to see fast results, you want to stay at that 20 net carbs or less. If you're wanting to see that moderate weight loss, you're going to look at 20 to 30 grams, okay, of net carbs. All right. So that's where we're at. That's our formula. That's what has to be modified when we talk in terms of our behaviors and when we opt in and make our choices. Okay. So then we get to our network. Okay. The what we think. It is so important to make sure we are fueling our minds with positivity as much as possible. There is enough negativity in the world. Drop a yes in the chat if you've heard something negative, either today or yesterday, or at some point in the last couple of days, either on the news or one of your friends said it or your family members. Put a yes in the chat if you have heard something negative, right? We are surrounded by negativity. And so it's really important that we make sure we are tapping in to a positive network whenever possible. And what's the best way to do that? Right? We have to cultivate and curate our network of the people that we want in our network. Okay. And I've been watching a lot of different documentaries and reading a lot of books about network lately. And so it's just kind of a common theme that continues to come up. And when you think of that in terms of a health journey, you can look for different communities that really encourage the healthy lifestyle. Okay. And so look at maybe Laura. I know she's in a running club, right? That meets every Saturday. And that's something that's a positive influence, right? They're meeting up to do something positive. Maybe there's a club of a hobby that you enjoy. And so it's important to plug into groups of things that you enjoy doing and that align with the goals you're working on and you're working toward. Okay. So when you think in terms of your network, I want you to, as you're taking notes, write down the people in your network, the people that you are associated with that add value, that come to mind, that add value to your life. Okay. And we've all heard that you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Okay. We are a combination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so when you look at most successful people, they're surrounding themselves with other successful people. Okay. I will tell you, the people that I probably spend the most time with are other business owners, my family, and then the people that go to my gym. Well, what do those 3 things have in common? They add value, right? So they're a positive influence, right? My family, they're supportive. And, if that's something that you struggle with your family, that's okay. You can look at your friends, you can look at other people around you, other community. Okay. And I'm not saying cut your family off completely if they're not supportive and they're not positive. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is set healthy boundaries. And again, recognize that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay. The people that go to my gym, some of them I don't even know their names, but we speak because we see each other there every day and we're there together for an hour a day, right? So we speak, we don't have long drawn out conversations, but when one of them isn't there, I notice. And I know when I'm not there, they notice, right? Because I don't go to the same gym every single day. And so they know what days to expect me there. And if they haven't seen me, if I've been out of town or whatever, they'll make a comment, hey, glad you're back. Glad to see you. So my absence is noticed. And again, same thing for them. If I don't see them, it's, hey, glad you're back. I see you. And so that's what's important. I have some accountability there. I know people are expecting me to be there. Just like showing up to teach class and pour into the program, right? It's expected, but I enjoy it, right? It becomes something that I love doing. And it's a way I get to give back on a big scale. But when you think about your network, think about the people that you spend the most time with. And I want you to put stars next to the ones that add value. Okay. And this may be a very hard task, and this might be very eye opening. But I would bet to say there are some people that maybe don't have stars next to their name because, quite frankly, they don't add value. You might be adding a lot of value to their life, but they're not adding a lot of value to you. And then what does that do? That throws off the balance of the what you think. Put a yes in the chat if you've ever been around somebody where you're just like, man, they just took all my energy. They just sucked the energy out of the room when they showed up. We can all relate to that, right? We can all relate to those people that you're just like, man, I appreciate them, but God, I got to have some positivity. I got to have a break. I need a minute. I've got to mentally prepare myself to spend time with them. And that's the thing. Do I still spend time with some of the people in my life that are like that? Yes, but it's limited. Right. And I prepare myself before I go so that I don't get emotionally attached and I don't get emotionally involved with what's going on. Right. I might be a listening ear, but I don't get emotionally involved because I spend a ton of time with people that add a lot of value. Okay. And so if you think about it, if you don't have a ton of people that are adding a lot of value, it's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take a little bit of time to cultivate that audience and that community that's going to add value, right? But just look for things that you have in common with people, okay? And reach out. One of the documentaries I was watching, it was this lady, she was trying to build a network of people in a place she had never been. Okay. She had never been there. She had no contacts, no connections there. And she started just reaching out to people. And she's like, the worst they can say is no, or they might never answer. But if I don't ask, the answer is absolutely going to be no. Right. And so when you're thinking in terms of building your network, who is somebody that you really want to connect with? Who is somebody that would add a lot of value to your life if you had a connection with them? Okay. And then think, how can I add value to them? And that can go back to scripting, the what we think, right? One of the things I script every day is I add value to all my relationships. And the reason I do that is because I want people to add value to me as well. So I need to make sure I'm adding value to them. I need to make sure I am that positive place that they can come. Now, does that mean I never vent to certain people? No, absolutely. We all have to have that outlet. Okay. But what it does mean is I show up and I command the room and I walk in with confidence, and I walk in because I know I have something of value to offer. Okay. And when I'm talking about networking and your network, I'm not talking about having to be involved in networking groups or anything like that. What I'm talking about is your circle of influence. Okay. What does your circle of influence look like? And is that circle of influence adding value to your life? And I think that's a really important concept because a lot of times when we are just soaking in negativity from it and we're getting it from all sides, we can really stall our progress when it comes to reaching our goals because we are constantly subconsciously stressed out. It will lead to subconsciously making poorer decisions. Okay. And then that can lead to that snowball effect where you're just like, okay, well, I'll start again tomorrow or I'll start again someday. Okay. And it's okay if you skip a day or two. Okay. That's where you have to really be careful. Who are the people that are influencing you? Okay. And then it's also really important that you continue to educate yourself, not only just the concepts of Health Accelerator, but educating yourself in personal development, continuing to read things that and consume podcasts or anything like that that adds value. Okay. And so I'll go over my morning routine. So we all know I do when I wake up, I really try hard not to hit snooze. And I'm going to tell you in the wintertime, it's a little more difficult because it's really cozy. Even in Florida, it's been cold lately in the mornings, but I really try hard not to hit snooze. I have water right next to my bed. Okay. So I make sure I drink at least 10 to 12 ounces of water immediately when I wake up. Do my 30 to 60-second dance party. Okay. And I try to pick out the song the night before so it's not something I have to think about. I can just do it. Right. And a lot of times I just do the same song over and over because it's good and that it switches up. So it's not important what you pick. It's just pick something, right? Okay, so 30 to 60-second dance party, then cold water, even when it's cold outside, right? Whether it's a cold shower or I just wash my face with cold water if I'm showering after the gym, whatever that looks like. Okay. So cold water, gratitude practice, and then I'm off to my workout. But while I'm doing the cold water and the gratitude practice, I'm listening to positive motivational YouTube videos. And most of the time that carries over to listening to those YouTube videos on my drive to the gym. I have about a 20-minute drive when I go do cardio in the mornings, and that brings me joy, right? That's not for everybody. Some people need to go to a gym that's closer, and that's okay. But for me, that's part of my routine, right? I've worked that in. And the reason I go to that gym is because I'm able to go to that one when I travel. Okay, so it's available to me when I'm out of town. And so it just makes sense. And they have a couple of machines there that I really like. So it makes sense. So I do my 20-minute drive to the gym. I'm listening to my YouTube videos, really just not thinking about anything else. Now, did you see in there anywhere where I said I checked my social media, checked my text messages, anything like that? No, I don't. I try not to use my phone for the first hour or so that I'm awake. And it usually turns in, other than to do my music and listen to the YouTube, but that turns into um, probably a little more than an hour, just depending on when I'm done with my workout, right? So, really being conscious about what I'm consuming, because I know as much as I've curated my Facebook and I get very little negativity on there, the chances of seeing something negative, I can't control what I see on there, right? I can do my best to curate it and hide stuff that's negative or say, hey, I don't want to see any of this. However, other stuff does sneak in, right? It's just how it works. Okay. Somebody asked me the other day if I saw something that was going on in the news and I hadn't. And they said, well, you don't get the alerts on your phone? I said, no, I turned Apple News alerts off on my phone. I don't want to know what's going on until I decide to go look and see what's going on, because it is important to keep yourself informed, but it's important to limit the intake. Okay. So when you think about your network, look at the people that are in your network. What are they doing to better themselves? What are they doing to mastermind and really focus on personal development and growth? Okay. If they're doing nothing for any of that, then it's time to take a look and maybe have a conversation with them and say, hey, would you be willing to do X, Y, and Z? And let's see if we can start generating some positivity. And they may not, and that's okay. I saw somewhere where it was talking about relationships and just friendships and all of that, and how maybe you both started at a 3, and we grow and we change, right? So maybe you both started at a 3 and you were great friends, but now you're up here at a 7 or an 8 or a 10, and they're at a 5. And it's not that they don't love you that they love you any less. It's just they're giving their all at a 5, but you've elevated to an 8, 9, 10, and it's just simply not, there's no synergy anymore. And that doesn't mean you can't still be friends with them. I have friends that I love them dearly, right? But I don't hang out with them all the time. They are not one of the 5 people that I spend the most time with, because they are not what I'm working to become. And I didn't have a big conversation with them about it. I just simply schedule my life and schedule my time how I wish to spend it. And then I work it in where I can, I fit them in, right? Because I still want to have a relationship with them. I still want to spend time with them, but just not all the time. And that's okay, right? Life happens. All right. So I just, and some of you may have seen this too, but AJ Brown was filmed on the sidelines last week at the playoff game. He was having a bad game. He's a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was filmed on the sideline reading this book called Inner Excellence. Okay. And this book was written by a former athlete, Jim Murphy, who his whole entire life goal was to be a professional athlete. He was drafted by the Chicago Cubs, and he didn't really make it to the big leagues. And so his entire identity was to be a professional athlete. And so when it came to fruition, but it didn't last, he had to reinvent himself. He had to completely change his entire identity. So he had to really do a lot of work and create a network. And so this is an example of how creating that rock solid network can help you get what you want. Okay. And help you really elevate yourself to the goals and the successes that you're wanting. All right. So Jim Murphy was friends with an athletic trainer at, I can't remember the college. I don't remember the college it was, but friends with an athletic trainer there. And Jim Murphy wrote a book called Inner Excellence. Okay. Wrote the book called Inner Excellence. This athletic trainer shared it with one of the football players on the team that he was a trainer for. Okay. He shared it with him, said, this is a great book. You know, I just met this guy. Like, it's a great book. He's a great guy. Read it. Okay. So then that football player then was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't remember what year or whatever, but that football player shared the book with AJ Brown. Well, AJ Brown is he's their number one wide receiver. So he's been reading this book all year on the sidelines. He's been doing it all year. It's highlighted. You can see he has read this book through and through, cover to cover, over and over, because it's worn and all of that. But just so happens the cameras caught him reading it. And then somebody on social media found the book that it was and then posted it. That book went from 500 and something thousand on the Amazon bestseller list to number 1 on the Amazon bestseller list overnight. And that's just an example of how your network can really get you to where you want to be, right? You're surrounding yourself with good people, and it may not happen overnight, right? There's very few overnight successes. But what it means is when you're surrounding yourself with people that think like you and add value, then you are setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for that accountability to make sure that when you're making those behavior modifications and creating those new habits, that they stick. Because that's the goal. It's not just to change your behavior for a little bit and then go back to your old habits, right? We've all done that before, right? We've all done the yo-yo dieting and we've all seen it. Okay. The goal to really accelerate your health is to create rock solid new habits. And the way to do that is to surround yourself with people that are, one, either creating those rock solid habits with you, or who already have some rock solid habits and you're learning from them and adding value to them, right? Those are the ways that we can really solidify those new habits becoming true habits, and not just change your behavior for a little bit and then go back to what you did before. And I think a lot of the times that's the missing piece. That's what people forget to do. They fall back on old habits because they go back to hanging out with the same people that they hung out with before. And like I said, doesn't mean you can't spend time with them. It just simply means they may not need to be one of those 5 people. And I know that's a hard reality to think about, but I think it's really necessary when you think in terms of your long-term success. Who are you spending the most time with? And are they adding value to your life? And if they're not, where can you go to create, or who in your existing network is doing those things and you just need to start spending more time with them, whatever that looks like. okay, and doing the things that they do. And one of the ways you can do that is by listening to those personal development books, those podcasts, and really creating and being very intentional about what you consume, especially for the first hour of the day. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Your network is your net worth, right? Those habits that you are creating. It's so much easier if you have a supportive network behind you. All right. So, where is that supportive network for you? Who are those 5 key people that you need to continue to build relationships with and spend the most amount of time with? And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you are personally spending a lot of time with. It could be maybe a mentor from a book or a podcast, right? And you make sure that you're spending an ample amount of time listening to their content every day because they are elevating you and elevating your mindset. All right. So I want you to be very intentional about what you're consuming and who, and see how your mindset starts to shift. So that's your challenge for this week. Inventory of those 5 people. Okay. People that are in your family that you can't necessarily spend less time with, then start spending more time listening to some positive things. That way you can learn to shut that off and really start to disassociate, and you can just be there for them. You listen to them, but you're not emotionally involved in it. Okay. All right. I am super proud of each and every one of you for showing up, getting the information. I know this topic is very uncomfortable for some people because you have to take a big look at, hey, who is it that I'm surrounding myself with? So I know you can do it. I cannot wait to hear how successful and amazing and positive you feel at the end of the week. If you are needing to get back into a coaching program, please reach out. I have a couple spots open, and I would love nothing more than to help you accelerate your health. I am here for you. I'll see you in the Facebook group, and I'll see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And until then, go create an amazing network, and I look forward to hearing all of your successes. Have a great night, everybody, and have a fantastic week. Bye.